All right. Hey, family. Welcome to episode 3 of How Not to Kill Yourself. How Not to Kill Yourself web series is self-help for the self-destructive, which is all of us. Today's episode is Nice for What? How clinginess is killing us. So, I've been talking to a few people who are either in relationships, dating someone, married this week, just to get their perspective on keeping things fresh, making sure your relationship doesn't go stale. But we're going to focus on dating mishaps for most of this episode. I think if you're coming out of a relationship, particularly if you came out of a relationship that you're still not over, or you're going through something very stressful in your life, you're probably more likely to make the mistake of meeting someone and you can check off all the things on your list. They're attractive, they're smart, they have a good job, income, good group of friends, what have you. Maybe there's some status that goes along with the person. You're more likely to be like, oh, this is the perfect person for me, especially if they live within a 5-mile radius, which is convenient, right? So some of the advice that I'm going to give is more so tips on if you're just getting to know someone, if you're still in the dating phase, maybe you haven't made it a relationship. And it's also applicable to people who are in relationships early, later, or married. Maybe not so much for married people, but one thing you want to keep in mind is when you spend time with someone, always put your best self forward. But be careful of how you communicate when you're not in each other's physical presence. And what do I mean by that? So one thing you hear, especially from ladies, I'm not picking on you, but it is more so from ladies. You hear from guys sometimes too, is I had a great time with this person. We laughed, we finished each other's sentences, what have you. And then all of a sudden they just started to become colder and colder, and then they just stopped communicating with you. Well, here's the thing. When you're in the moment, it is fun, right? But when someone's, away from you and you're texting them or IMing them or liking their pictures, commenting on things, you see someone that you may view as competition commenting on their Instagram, and you feel the need to comment just to let them know you're there, not even necessarily to be confrontational. Guess what happens? There's an old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. So if I spend time with you and we genuinely were vibing and we had a good time, but now I know like clockwork, when I'm away from you, you're going to text me, you're going to stalk my Instagram, stalk my Facebook, hit me with that, how's your day going? It can be a little bit exhausting. So my advice is this. When you're just getting to know someone, when you're dating them, keep it cordial, keep it polite. The same way if you saw a classmate or a coworker like, hey, Jane, Judy, I don't know why I said those names. Hey, guy, girl, how's it going? Keep it cordial. 2 things that does. You don't come off desperate, right? And the other thing is, if they had as good of a time as you did, they may be like, oh, I wonder if he or she is feeling me like I was feeling them. You have to keep a little bit of mystery. So no, you don't have to blow them off or be rude, but just like, oh yeah, hey, I'm good. How are you? And then when you're in person, turn it all on. Turn the charm on. Like I said, I talked to a lot of folks today this week about this issue, but today we're going to hear from a woman named Shay, and she's going to tell you her own experience with dealing with someone who was quite the clinger.
Hi, I'm Shay. Nice to meet you all. So the question is, have I ever dumped or stopped dating someone because they were too clingy? That's kind of like a double-edged question. The short and thick of it is no. And the reason why is because they ended up cheating. So there was a guy And he was good. Seemed to be a nice person, had a decent job. We hung out for probably over a year, and we were dating. But from the beginning, it was just certain things about him that were so irritating, and it was like he just always wanted to be up under me, and I could not breathe. I believe that's because he didn't really have any friends of his own. So when you find the guy who's the loner, yeah, I'm gonna say run, because the loner guy will always want to be up under you and never want you to go out with your friends because they have nothing to do, which totally sucks. And I think the whole cheating aspect also came from that insecurity, perhaps, that he had. Maybe he thought because I had, friends of my own, I was going to school, that I would meet other people outside of the relationship and obviously want to be with them instead, when I was actually pretty content with hanging out with him. I just wasn't content with him wanting to always be up under me. I think in relationships, everyone wants that, a little bit of space. You hang out with your friends. I hang out with my friends. Sometimes we can even hang out with our friends together. But there needs to be that kind of separation of church and state in a way, so that you can lead lives separately, but then always incorporate each other into each other's lives and be fulfilled in a relationship. So that's my answer.
So we want to thank Shay for sharing her story. What did you guys think of that? What I thought was really interesting, and we can delve into this on another episode if you like. Definitely put in the comments what you think of this episode and topics that you want me or my brother, Brian, to cover in future episodes. But what really struck me about that was that she didn't dump the clingy guy, and he cheated on her. The disrespect, the audacity, right? But when I talked to Shay offline, one thing we did agree on, and I pointed out, I said, sometimes that insecurity is what leads to cheating. So sometimes you may think, well, dang, this person won't let me breathe. But what you're not thinking about is that probably makes them a little bit more likely to cheat. Let's look at our culture for a second. So this week we had, oh my goodness, so Friday we had Cardi B drop her album. Shout out to Cardi B. She broke all types of records. I think she was the over 100 million streams in the past week. We had Nicki Minaj, who dropped a couple of singles. So she dropped Barbie Tings and Chun-Li. I'm really feeling the Chun-Li. And I think from the Cardi B album, there's a few bangers. I think the one I'm still listening to is Be Careful. But there's some other bangers. Point being, why am I bringing this up? Because social media has made most folks, whether you want to admit it or not, you're more obsessed with celebrities. And I started thinking about that. I'm not really obsessed with celebrities, but I do like to know what's going on. And I'm like, why is that? And why are certain celebrities more intriguing than others? Let's just think about that. So it's basically because you don't know what's coming next. You don't know what the next look is going to be. You don't know where the hell they're going to pop up. One minute they're in Australia, the next minute they're in LA. One minute Rihanna's hair is red, the next it's blonde. Same with, whatever your favorite show is. The Housewives. Dare I say the K's, the Kardashians, right? Even if you can't stand these people, you're obsessed with them, you love them, or somewhere in between, what makes them interesting, that part of the brain that keeps it interesting, is because you don't know what's coming next. So you're just like, oh, what are they doing next? What project are they working on? What are they wearing? What are they doing with their hair? So I dug a little deep into some research. There's a New York Times article study that actually looked at couples, everything from how they have sex, how frequently they have sex, how they communicate with each other. There was even a doctor that was featured that said he could tell within the first several minutes of listening to a couple if they would be in it for the long haul. This is crazy, right? But one thing you need to think about, especially if you want success, if you really want to have a happy relationship and one that spans more than just, a few months or a few years, part of what they found in the study has to do with couples that were happiest and lasted the longest were those who did things together. And let me just pull up my little notes. So the exact quote: couples who explore new places and try new things will tap into feelings of self-expansion. Wait for this part, this is dramatic. Lifting their level of commitment. So whether you're traveling together, taking classes that you never thought you would take together, or just experiencing something different and new together, that does what? Repeat. Lifts your level of commitment. That's what you want. You want to lift the level of commitment so that you have a longer and stronger relationship, marriage, if that's what your goal is. So I hope you learned something today. I certainly did doing this episode. I always want to entertain, but also hopefully you walk away with some new knowledge that you can apply in your life. That's the whole point. Self-help for the self-destructive. I've been clingy. Shay's been clingy. I hope Breon's not watching. He's been clingy. We've all been there. But these are some things that you can really, take a little bit further research. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I know the last couple episodes we ended with have you taking a shit today. And we are going to do an episode on that. And for those that are new, we're not crazy. It is important that you take at least one shit a day. And the average American, I think, is having some days that go by where they're not moving their bowels. We want to help you holistically, right, with your health. So that was one of our ending questions. Did you take a shit today? If you did, pat yourself on the back. But I want to give you guys a little bit more insight than what we normally do. 80% of your health is in your gut. You can Google that. And so your digestion is extremely important. So although we say it tongue in cheek, it really is important that your digestion is on track. Drink coconut water. I know some people don't like the taste. You got to find the one that's right for you. It does hydrate you, potassium, magnesium, whatnot. Drink a lot of water. Sometimes when you're hungry, you're thirsty. Those are my tips for this week. I will see you next time. This was episode 3, How Not to Kill Yourself, How Clinginess is Killing Us. Subscribe to us. Subscribe to the channel. Tongue-tied today. Make sure you like us on Facebook and on Instagram at HNTKY_official. Peace.
Sicker than your average. Pop a twist cabbage off instinct. Niggas don't think shit stink. Pink gators. My Detroit players. Tim's for my hooligans in Brooklyn.